I've talked about it before here on the channel, and I'll admit it again. I used to be a huge Sony fangirl. I just really love their exclusive games. I mean, their lineups are fantastic. Shadow of the Colossus, Uncharted, God of War, and we've even got newer games like Ghost of Tsushima, one of my favorite games of all time, Horizon Zero Dawn. I mean, they've seriously had so many exclusive games that are great. It's hard to not like the company behind them, but at the same time, the companies I like have definitely shifted, and Sony, who was once a top dog, is now pretty low on that list just because of how they treat developers and how they don't listen to consumers. Now, over the past few years, Sony's forced a lot of censorship into games on their consoles, and it's something I've talked about extensively here on the channel, but there's another company who's been pretty good when it comes to the content that they're producing, the content that they're allowing on their system, and that's a company who is completely demolishing Sony in Sony's home market, Nintendo. I've talked about Nintendo versus Sony a couple of times, but I figured we could talk about it again. Nintendo destroys PlayStation sales in Japan, focusing on fun instead of activism. This is a statement that I love to see when a company is focused on fun and not things like activism, not focused on things like pushing a narrative into their games. Before we get into the article, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel to see my daily content that YouTube seems to suppress quite a lot of. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted, and consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month. I appreciate all of the support, and all of the links are in the description. So ever since Nintendo announced the now ridiculously popular Nintendo Switch, the big Nintendo has managed to keep itself on top of the competition. Granted, the Nintendo Switch was released 4 years after Sony's PlayStation 4 and Microsoft's Xbox One, but that doesn't take away from any of the console's merits. I talk about it all the time, but I love my Nintendo Switch. It's one of the consoles that I use the most. I just really love the games lineup. I really love the mobility of it, and I also like the fact that you can use it mobile, or you can also put it on a TV. But it says, given how Sony and Microsoft spent most of last year gearing up for the release of their new respective next-gen consoles, last year was a particularly great year for Nintendo, as the Kyoto-based company essentially had little to no competition when it came to console sales. Animal Crossing New Horizons, for instance, was Nintendo's best-selling title of 2020, as per the MPD Group's Matt Piscatella's annual report, and the third best-selling video game of the year behind Activision's Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, the latter taking the #1 spot. Yeah, as you can see, #1 was Cold War, #2 was Modern Warfare, and #3 was Animal Crossing. And then even if we get into games, we only have Sony exclusives like The Last of Us Part 2 and then Ghost of Tsushima in 6th and 7th place. I can see why, like, Cold War and Modern Warfare are first. Call of Duty comes out every single year. There's a new game. People love Call of Duty. So I see why they're in #1 and #2, but Animal Crossing being in #3 is great for Nintendo. Animal Crossing was a really great game. I still play it very often. I know a lot of people do as well. It's just a very casual game that you can go back to, but you can also put a lot of work and effort and time into it if you want. It's just a great game all around, and it was super, super hyped up when it released. I feel like it released at the perfect time just because of COVID and everyone was in lockdown at that time. So we had the situation where everyone was looking for something to do, and Animal Crossing just was there. We also have to consider the reason why Black Ops and Modern Warfare were above Animal Crossing, and that was due to how many damn platforms they were on. Modern Warfare was on 3, the last generation systems and PC, and Black Ops Cold War was on 5 separate systems, last gen, new gen, and PC, which is crazy to think about the fact that Animal Crossing can compete and it's only on one platform. That's just a testament to this game itself. As if that wasn't enough, Piscatella's report also revealed that the Nintendo Switch was the best-selling hardware platform in units sold for a record of 24 consecutive months, a feat which is quite impressive in of itself. I definitely think that the Nintendo Switch deserves all the praise that it gets. It's a very versatile system. It's got tons of options for players, but it says even better for the company. According to Ace Research Institute senior analyst Hideki Yasuda, who I've talked about several times, Nintendo has practically eradicated PlayStation from the Japanese market, as in 2021 a staggering 99% of video game sales belonged to Nintendo Switch and only 1% to PlayStation 4. Now, I do think that it is important to note a couple of things here. First of all, they're just talking about 2021, and we're only 3 months into 2021, and new consoles are out, but unfortunately, it's very hard to get new consoles, the Xbox Series S or X, and it's also hard to get the PlayStation 5s. Unless you're buying them from a third-party seller on something like eBay, you're not going to be able to get your hands on them very easily, and they're double and triple the price from third-party sellers. Unfortunately, I do think that that definitely plays into it, because people are waiting. People don't want to be buying brand new games for their Xbox Ones or their PlayStation 4s. They want the new consoles, and they are kind of waiting just to get their hands on them to be able to buy new games. But unfortunately, if we even look at the new consoles, there's not a ton of new games. On the PlayStation, there's things like Demon's Souls and Spider-Man. And on the Xbox, there's not really anything right now, just because you can purchase everything for your Xbox One X. And you also don't have things right now like Halo Infinite. We're not getting that for at least a couple more months. So I know a lot of people are waiting. So I do think that that is important to take into consideration, just because the lifespan of the older consoles, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, are kind of done now. But I do think, again, that Nintendo deserves all the praise that they're getting, and I do think that they deserve to be the dominant company right now, just because they are one of the best. In a recent interview with Nikkei, Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa revealed that the focus of the company, in a completely opposite direction from Sony's, is to make video games that are fun. This is so damn good to hear. This isn't a company that's focused on narratives and politics and throwing activism in your face. No. They are just worried about making games fun for people. This is so nice to hear. So according to Furukawa, when Nintendo researches new technologies, they always focus on how their ideas need to be fun. As seen in the above charts, this philosophy has definitely paid off over the years. Now, there isn't enough stock of the new PlayStations, like I had mentioned, and we've even heard that Sony's not focused on the Japanese market, and they're stocking the United States, and then Europe, and then Japan with units. So Japan is getting scraps when it comes to console numbers right now. But I think that even if the stock was there, the numbers would still lean in Nintendo's favor, because people in Japan are upset with Sony, and they've definitely started supporting Nintendo more. We can tell just by the numbers that we've seen. Nintendo's definitely got its flaws. I definitely don't think that any company is perfect, but Nintendo's made an effort to be better and to let more games onto their console and to give fans more options as to what games they want to enjoy, and I really respect that. I think that this should go without saying, but fun is what gaming's all about. Most people play games to relax and to escape from the real world and the problems they might be facing. It's a way to live a life that you wouldn't be able to normally live. It's a way to have experiences that are not possible in real life. And obviously, some games are more stressful and dark and scary, and they're not all rainbows and sunshine. But for me, at least, I don't want a political opinion thrown into my face in games. I don't want a specific narrative to be the deciding factor whether or not I enjoy a game. And I want games to be focused on fun, and Nintendo's doing that where a company like Sony isn't, and I see why they've become so popular. I mean, Nintendo's always been a super popular company, but they are dominating markets right now just because of a bunch of factors. You know, Sony doesn't have enough consoles on the market, no matter what console they are, because we've even heard about PlayStation 4 shortages. You know, unfortunately, for consumers, there's not a lot of games coming out for PlayStation right now. There's just a lot of factors going in to Nintendo being the dominating force. While no one is arguing the quality is there from a technical standpoint, the article continues, most of Sony's games focus more on narrative than gameplay. Unfortunately, an argument could be made that several of the company's games, like Naughty Dog developed The Last of Us Part 2, only exist to push a political agenda over enjoyable gameplay. In fact, the game's creative director, Neil Druckmann, actually said for us with The Last of Us specifically, Uncharted is a little different in our creative approaches. We don't use the word fun. Again, I do understand that some games are darker and scarier than some, but if a game doesn't have any element of fun to it, why are we going to play it? Why are we going to spend $60, now $70 on a video game? It says other titles published by the company, like Sucker Punch's superb Ghost of Tsushima, aren't trying to make a statement. Ghost of Tsushima is one of my all-time favorite games now. It is so freaking amazing. I've played it multiple times, and I definitely think that it's one of the best games to release last generation. The article continues, though, as such, many PlayStation owners have agreed that similar such games, especially those wherein the developers avoid killing its main protagonist for woke points, are better than most of Sony's exclusive offerings. Conversely, Nintendo's Animal Crossing New Horizons not only avoided dividing its fan base, but also went on to be one of the best-selling games of 2020. So there have been a lot of rumors recently about a Nintendo Switch Pro finally coming out, and I thought that we could quickly read some of the rumors. It says a new rumor about the Nintendo Switch Pro has surfaced online, possibly shedding light on the console's release date. For well over a year, we've been hearing rumors and reports about a new, more powerful Switch, and over time this console has come to be referred to as the Nintendo Switch Pro. The newest rumor comes the way of Nintendo leaker Nate Drake, who was amongst the first to relay the word of the console's existence when rumors and reports about the machine were scarce. Speaking about the console, the leaker noted they believe the console will be announced this fiscal year. However, the console itself may be delayed until 2022, but suggesting that the plan was at one point to release it this year. We have heard a bunch of rumors circulating that it might be releasing this year, it might be releasing next year, but I do think a lot of people would buy it, and I know that I would buy one. I support Nintendo right now. I think that they're doing a pretty good job with the games that they're releasing and how they're treating developers, and we don't know if this is real or not, but it's safe to say that it probably is real, and we are going to get a Nintendo Switch Pro model at some point, or an updated Nintendo Switch in the closer future. I mean, it's already March at this point. I can't believe that 2021 is going by so fast. But yeah, there's just a lot of rumors circulating right now with the Switch, and I think that a Switch would be good. But going back to the initial article, it is good to see that Nintendo is the top dog right now. I don't think that they'll stay that way, and no company's perfect, but I do think it's good right now that we're seeing a good company at the top in the gaming industry. But let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.